Did you know there's a big chance that even Bing Bong might return in Inside Out 2? Can you believe that no one noticed, but anxiety was already shown in the first film? Inside Out 2 is on its way, and you can be sure that a lot of new and cool things will come with it. And we've thoroughly investigated everything known about this sequel to one of Disney Pixar's best films in history. There are interesting facts, mysteries, and impressive details that almost no one knows or has noticed yet. But you'll know now exclusively. Just stay with us until the end. So many emotions. Pete Docter, the brilliant mind behind the creation of some of Pixar's best animations, including Inside Out, said he could work with up to 22 emotions, according to the psychology experts he consulted for the film. But in the end, for the first film, they ended up choosing 7 emotions, which were later reduced to the 5 we saw, and now, for the new film, 4 new emotions are confirmed, and probably only they will appear in the movie. Anxiety, envious, embarrassed, and ennui. In other words, Pixar has a vast stock of emotions that could appear in future Inside Out sequels if the company decides to continue following Riley's growth and how her mind develops with more and more emotions, which I would honestly love to see. But based on this, a burning question arises. Where were these new emotions? From the first film, we could see that emotions simply emerge in people's minds, just like joy, the first to appear, and all the others that followed in Riley's mind. So it's easy to understand that these new 4 emotions also emerged from the protagonist's mind as she grew up, since she started the film at 11, was 12 in the short first date, and will be 13 in the second film. But what about her parents? Where are these same emotions that appeared in Riley's mind? Were they in the minds of the other characters in the films? This is because in the scenes where we see the control panel in the heads of all the other characters in the movie, there are always the 5 main emotions and no one else. So do these emotions appear and then disappear in people's minds? Honestly, I don't think so, especially since anxiety, for example, is something that is part of everyone's life, especially when we are about to do something new. So, this is a question that we would love to know how Disney will answer. And something closely related to this mystery is the scene where we see anxiety with her. Travel suitcases. When anxiety appears, she scares all the other emotions because no one had ever seen her before. And when she introduces herself, she grabs not 1, not 2, but 6 travel suitcases, reinforcing that she is the perfect representation of an anxious person who always takes many things wherever she goes. But if you stop to think, who has suitcases is because they're coming from somewhere they were already settled, right? So it's perfectly possible to imagine that perhaps the new emotions of Inside Out may have their own control panel somewhere else in the characters' minds. This would be an answer that would make sense, don't you think? And they might be temporarily installed on the joy and the other emotions panel, precisely because during puberty, anyone's mind is a real mess, as if it were a demolition site. This would make a lot of sense, and it might indicate that the new emotions may only appear for a while, create chaos, and then go back to where they came from, all because of the famous puberty. But do you know what else puberty might be bringing to Riley's mind? Bing Bong is back! If you watched Inside Out and didn't get emotional when Bing Bong sacrifices himself so that Joy can continue her journey back to the headquarters of emotions, you probably have a heart of stone. But when the new trailer and images from Inside Out 2 were released, many fans began to theorize that Bing Bong might indeed be back in this sequel. And more than that, now he won't be just an imaginary friend, but a new emotion, kind of like a resurrection or reincarnation. Because if you remember Bing Bong, you'll recall that he is quite a large creature that mixes an elephant with cotton candy and has a fluffy tail with stripes on its legs. In other words, a perfect imaginary friend. And his color is a vivid pink. And guess who else is pink? The emotion of embarrassed. This new character seems to resemble Bing Bong quite a bit, since besides being pink too, it's quite large, as we can see its hand passing over Envious's head and holding the hatch cover. And look how big it is! Furthermore, if you look closely, you'll notice that its nose is quite large and slightly rounded, like a coiled trunk. And who has a trunk that we know? Bing Bong! Of course, all of this is a fan theory that makes some sense, but it's worth noting that while Bing Bong's eyes were green, Embarrassed's eyes are pink, just like its color. So this is a puzzle that we will also only discover after watching the movie. I have to confess, now I'm really curious. Anwe and Fear are related? Just like embarrassed, ennui is one of the new emotions that will inhabit the mind of Riley, who is no longer so little now that she's 13 and deeply in the throes of puberty. And about ennui, the character tucked away in the corner, we notice some interesting details. For example, we can see that Anwe and Fear have relatively similar skin tones, with Ennui's color leaning a bit towards purple and Fear's towards lilac. Another point that suggests a resemblance between the two characters is that they both have long, thin noses, with Ennui's being pointed and sharp, while Fear's is rounded at the tip. All these similarities have raised questions among thousands of fans of the movie, such as, could they really be related? Distant cousins, or perhaps even siblings? This is a theory that makes some sense, and we'll have to wait for the movie to find out if it's real. But honestly, I think there are too many similarities for there not to be some connection between the two. The Beatles! If you've never heard of the Beatles, do a quick Google search and you'll discover that they are simply the best-selling band in human history. And what do they have to do with Inside Out 2? Many fans of the film are claiming that there is a quick homage to the band and the character of Ennui. If you zoom in on the character, you'll see that the Emotions haircut is rounded, just like the band members did at the height of their fame in the 1960s. Of course, this is just a fun fact since we can't even tell if Ennui is a boy or a girl, but it definitely has a Beatles-style fringe. Envious. Unlike embarrassed, who appears to be a gigantic emotion, we see envious with its tiny hands tucked away in the corner. And you can tell that it's quite small and cute, but as the saying goes, looks can be deceiving. Because behind its innocent and sweet appearance, it may be hiding a strong desire to have what others have for itself and no one else. We can see that it has long hair, a shade of green similar to its own, which is a beautiful shade of green. It also has two small pink hairpins that show that its appearance will indeed be sweet and cute, unlike its potentially selfish and greedy behavior. Another thing that stands out about this new emotion in Inside Out 2 is its bright eyes, which perfectly match its characteristic of desiring everything that catches its eye and thinks is cool. This is definitely a character to keep an eye on in this promising movie. Old inspiration. When Inside Out was in production, many artistic concepts were created, especially for the emotions, and when they were chosen, other designs ended up not being used. But it seems that some of these old drawings may be used for the new characters. For example, the idea for the emotion of greed, which was not used in the film, had a very pointed nose, just like Ennui. So there may have been some inspiration here. And the truth is, greed has more in common with Little Envious, who will also be in the second Inside Out movie. In this sense, the color green was indeed used from another concept of greed, as well as the image of an innocent girl that we're sure Envious will have in the new film. Furthermore, even Embarrassed already had a design that was created for the first film and may be partially used in the second. In this image, we can see Embarrassed on the left, next to Fear. And we can see that it was already quite a large character and pink, just like Embarrassed will be in this second film. We'll have some surprises in Inside Out, but not everything will be completely new. Anxiety has always been there. This is definitely the last curiosity, something that can blow anyone's mind. Of course, it's a theory, but look how much sense it makes. Remember Bong? He had a multicolored flower on his lapel, which if you look closely, has the colors of all of Riley's emotions. And guess who's orange? Exactly, anxiety. And it was right in front of us the whole time. I mean, it's a theory, but it definitely makes sense, right? Pete Docter is playing with our emotions in this way. These are the 9 curiosities, mysteries, and theories we've gathered about Inside Out 2 for you today. We've also included these 2 videos here for you to continue enjoying. The one on the right is really awesome. Check it out.